Hi, I'm Johnny from UltimatePaperMache.com, and it's really close to Halloween. I did not get anything ready for it, and I've got kind of a strange situation where I want to give away candy for, for the neighborhood kids, but I don't want the doorbell ringing all night because my brand new poodle his bark just drives me nuts. I did actually have a really cool idea, I thought, but I ended up doing something really simple. And it's just basically putting my chimpanzee mask up over a bowl so that the kids could reach in and get their own candy. I had kind of hoped that I could use either the shark or the T-Rex, doing basically the same thing, and they just didn't work because they were too big, they were the wrong sizes, and I felt that the wind was going to blow them away. And before I start telling you about how I made the silly chimpanzee thing, which is kind of embarrassing, but what I had intended to do was to use PVC pipes for an armature of like a skeleton kind of. Go to the local thrift store and get some little kid clothes so that I could have my little guy sitting on the steps of the porch, just kind of with his knees up, sort of. I would stuff his neck and his behind his gloves with straw, so there's going to be no paper mache really. It's just going to be a stuffed scarecrow with no head. Because his head, I was going to make this really cool pumpkin head that the kids could reach in and get their candy, and the scarecrow was going to be holding it on his lap. I just thought that would be really fun. Didn't happen. I don't have time to make that pumpkin. I'm going to end up using these little light things for my chimpanzee, and I have used LED lights in other projects that turned out really cool. I'm going to put a link to those down below too, because if you happen to have time, or if you happen to be watching this in the middle of next year, when you really do have time, there are some really fun ideas where you can make masks and have the eyes lighted. But in this case, we're going to go as simple as possible, just so I can get something done. If you come up with a better idea than I did, that's a little less embarrassing, please let us know in the comments below. Now let me show you how I did this silly chimpanzee Halloween candy bowl for my front porch. I wanted the chimp to be up above the bowl and to move around a little bit in the wind, and that's one of the reasons that I didn't think that the T-Rex or the shark would work very well, just because they're quite a lot bigger and heavier, and I was just afraid that the wind would blow the whole thing over, and if they didn't blow to the next county, I would still end up with candy all over my porch. So I thought that the smaller chimp, even though he isn't really scary and he isn't very Halloween-y, I still thought it would work a little bit for this silly thing I'm doing. It's what I did. Actually, just now I've started thinking that a chimp ghost in white gauze hanging over him, but with his lights showing and letting enough of him to show that it was really a chimp. I thought that would be kind of fun, but I just now thought of it and I don't have any gauze, so oh well. Now, to get him up above the bowl without blowing away, I bent some really heavy wire that I found out in the garage, and I bent it on both ends. Then I used some masking tape to hold it together down at the short ends, the part that's actually going up inside of his head. And then I used a whole lot more masking tape to hold the wire to the inside of the mask. And I'm really hoping that's going to be strong enough to hold in the wind. If the wind starts blowing too hard, obviously I'll have to bring it back in the house. Before I go any further, I probably should mention that this is not at all waterproof. I'm sure you figured that out already, because if it rains, I'm going to have to go back to plan B and just let the kids ring that doorbell, let the dog bark his crazy head off, and go ahead and hand them their candy. It'll be all right. Maybe that would actually be good for the dog. He might get used to the idea of people coming without being threatening. I don't know. He's a new dog, so I'm just haven't got him quite figured out. But the weatherman says it's not going to rain, so I've got my fingers crossed. Now, after the wire was all taped on the inside of his head, I taped the other ends of the wire to the bowl, and I kind of spread it out so that two of the wires are on the inside of the bowl, one of them's on the outside, and again, I'm using lots of tape, and I covered the sharp points so the kids are not going to get scratched when they get the candy. I think that it's going to be strong enough to hold. again, fingers crossed. And I should say that I tried about 5 other ways to get the mask up above the bowl, and none of the other things that I tried worked. So this was I was very happy that the wire did at least look like it was going to make it. And I'm also got to say that right now I'm actually looking over at the orangutan mask with his orange hair, and I'm wondering why I didn't use him instead of the chimpanzee. I might actually have to change my mind. Okay. Okay, so anyway, it's time now to put the little teeny LED lights inside the mask. And you probably already guessed this too. I should have put the lights in there before I did the whole thing with the wires. It was really hard to reach inside with my hot glue gun and position the lights where they belong because the bowl was attached to them already. It's also really hard to glue them inside the mask so that the light portion's showing, and so you can still reach the thingy that you pull out of the light to make it go on, because they're on exact opposite sides of that ball. So you kind of had to put them sideways, which I didn't really want to do. But it does work. I probably have to do them over again when it's actually time to put him outside. You can close the light. You can put that little the pull-out thingy. You can stick it back in, but it isn't easy, especially the way I've got it. So I'll probably have to pull these particular lights out and put new ones in before I put him out on the porch. But the bag has about 100 little lights in it, so that's okay. I'm not worried about losing a couple. But even the way I did it, though, even though it's not quite symmetrical where I put them, the lights do shine up, and I think that's probably going to shine on the candy bowl too. I tested it with most of the lights turned off, and I think it's going to work. If it doesn't light up the candy bowl enough, I'll just go ahead and add a couple more lights on the inside of the top of his head and point them downward, and I think that would work too. And so he's all done, but look at this. It just makes so much more sense. And it will be even easier for me to put the wires behind him. So I'm actually going to take this guy off, believe it or not, and just tape the wires on this guy instead. And yeah, I'll put the lights in there first. But I'm not going to do that right now because I got this guy all done. I did all the filming. You can see how I did it. Now, if I was starting from scratch and I had to make something to go over the bowl, if I thought that was actually a good idea, I would go ahead and do it the way I did the wolf. Remember, I did a 3-hour wolf mask or something, where instead of using any paper mache over the pattern for the wolf, I just used masking tape and spray painted him black. It works, you know, for just something temporary. It worked. That I think I could actually get away with. But this time, I'm just going to go ahead. Well, I might think about it for a little longer. I think I'm going to go with this guy, and that's just because he's got the orange mustache and stuff. But he is kind of fun, you know, and it does wiggle a little bit. It's gonna wiggle in the wind. So this guy. Tell me what you think. Is this just a totally stupid thing to do? I mean, yeah, it is. But if you have any ideas for something to do really, really fast, and you have the same problem I do, where you just can't open the door or don't want to because of some little rascal in the house who's going to make a whole bunch of noise, or for any other reason, if you want to participate in Halloween but you don't actually want to open the door for some reason, let us know what you would do to make it a little bit more fun than just putting a bowl of candy out on the porch. There's got to be some better ideas than this. So let me know. If you come up with an idea fast enough, I might change my mind and do your idea instead of mine. Now go make something and come back and visit me, ultimatepapermache.com. I'll see you there.